Right. So welcome to the YouTube channel. It's Thomas Williscroft, my special guest today.
Jason Williscroft.
We're here to talk about YIELDA, which is a new project from Jason here. And he's just started building this, and he's happy to come on and share how his experience has been and what he's aiming to do with this project. So, I'm going to do a quick intro.
Yeah, sure. So, I guess I got to correct you on one point though. I haven't just started building it. I've been building it for 8 months.
Oh,
right. So it's been quite an adventure. Should I be looking at you? I'm maybe YouTube, right? Am I looking at you or am I looking at the camera?
I think you only first told me 2 months ago, so maybe less.
Oh,
so you were building it from the ground first.
Yeah. So we went live onto the testnet. When was that now? Less than 2 months ago, right? But actual design and construction started all the way back in February. So this has been quite a saga. Now we're running live on testnets. You can play on Ethereum, on Matic, and on Polygon, and on Avalanche, right? And we're basically trying to amass a user community. Once we have, then we'll roll the rank to mainnet with whichever one gathers the most users first.
Perfect. And how are you finding that so far with the feedback that you've been getting?
I mean, so we've got that's actually been really cool, right? And I think it's probably more true in Web3 than anywhere else. So just for reference, I've been writing software for 4 years, right? So I know I look like I'm in my 20s, but I'm not, right? So I've been doing it for a long time. And actually what I found is that you get, or at least I get, a higher volume, a higher quality of feedback in the Web3 space than I've ever gotten anywhere. People are just kind of jumping in with both feet, and I'm literally getting walls of text type feedback on it. And I mean, a lot of positive encouragement, but a lot of really useful. Hey, have you thought about this kind of stuff? So, so I've really spent a lot of time in the last couple of months since it's been out there incorporating that, and it's actually we've evolved the game, significantly as a consequence of that feedback. So that's been really cool.
All right, cool. And how do we play this game? What is?
Yeah. So remember yield farming? It was real popular. A year and a half ago.
Yield farming is still very popular.
Yeah, the guys that sit up all night long, pushing the button, Yeah. So, and obviously you're aware that a lot of that stuff was a scam, right? So, there's a bit of backstory here. Somebody who you would probably recognize here on Bali approached me. I'm not going to dox anybody, but approached me back in January. With an idea, right? So this person handed me kind of a pilfered GitHub repo and said, "Hey, how'd you like to build this for me and my partners?" And when I examined it, it turned out to be a yield farming scam, right? It was kind of your Mark 1 Mod 0, put your money in, we're not actually going to lend it out, we're going to pay the early investors from the proceeds of the later ones, that whole thing, right?
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, right. So I looked at that, and I went through the repo thinking I must be missing something, right? Because why would anybody ask me to build one of those? And nope, that's exactly what it was. So I'm like, no, sorry. But then I got to thinking about it, right? And I'm an engineer by education. I'm a mathematician by application. I'm really into game theory, right? So I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, God, there's something really interesting about this. And I got to thinking about what makes a Ponzi scheme a Ponzi scheme, right? Well, the bottom line of a Ponzi scheme is you're playing a game, and the rules that you think you're playing by are not the actual rules, right? You think you're playing by a different set of rules than the people operating the game are actually playing, right? So I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, what if this were a game, right? What if you had something that looks like a Ponzi scheme, except that it's completely transparent. Every single person involved in it is aware of what the deal is and can see everything at every level, what would that be like, right? And so that, basically, I took that repo as a starting point, rewrote every line of code from scratch, kind of built the whole thing up, fixed, it was a mess. Kind of put it on a reasonable code base, right? And and built it out that way, and it turned out to be something really interesting, So that's the backstory, right? So how do you play it? Well, it's pretty straightforward. You make a deposit. That deposit, depending on the chain you're playing on, could be in ETH, in Matic, or in AVAX, and we'll move to other blockchains later. All EVM chains, right? So you make a deposit, and when you make that deposit, you lock it up for a period of time. It could be depends on the game, because the parameters change game to game, but as little as 8 days, as many as 30 days. So you earn a return on the deposit that you make, right? And the rate that you earn increases as the lockup period increases, right? So you leave your money at risk longer and you make more. It's compounded daily, so it's a significant difference, right? So at 8 days, at the end of 8 days, you're making just over 8%. At the end of 30 days, you're making nearly 150%. There's a referral program, like you get kind of paybacks when you bring people into it. You get instant bonuses when you deposit at a higher lockup. But the bottom line is this: just like any one of these schemes, right? Eventually, the game runs out of money, right? So eventually, the amount of money that the game owes completely overwhelms the amount of money that it has left. The game crashes, it runs out of money, and then kind of wait 2 weeks and it starts over, right? So the deal with your deposit is you have to withdraw your deposit, meaning it has to mature and be withdrawable before the game ends, right? Now you can withdraw it early, but you're going to pay a penalty, right? So at that point, it becomes a question of take a small loss versus lose everything.
Yeah. And
of course, every time somebody new comes in and makes a deposit, that extends the life of the game, right? So it's a question of can you gauge the sentiment of all the other players accurately and figure out like what's a safe lockup, and then can you pay attention to that over time and decide kind of on a daily basis, like, do I keep it in, do I take a loss, do I do another deposit in order to double down on the risk that I'm already taking, so it's not the sort of thing when you kind of stick in a deposit and forget about it until it's mature. Somebody else is going to come along and eat your lunch, right? You gotta pay attention. But if you're paying attention, there are opportunities that come and you can see this, as you watch a game evolve, right? There are opportunities that come when the balance gets really high, and you can tell that there's some time, right? You can afford to make some more deposits. The balance drops low, and you're like, maybe you want to get out, but I still have time, kind of thing, So that's how it works.
And everyone's going to be able to see the money remaining.
Oh yeah.
Anytime.
Oh, there's a ton of metrics, right? So remember, I said completely transparent, radically transparent, right? So
every data point is like publicly. And everyone sees the same thing.
Everybody sees the same thing. Everybody sees every deposit that's made in the game. Everybody sees every player that's in the game. We kind of you look at the data available, and there's some basic stuff that you can imagine ought to be there. Right? What's the game balance? Like that you can see, kind of see it over time. But then there are other metrics like how much does the game still owe, right? So what are the obligations of the game as opposed to the balance still in the game? And obviously, the higher that number becomes, the higher that ratio becomes, the greater the risk is, and the more likely the game is to crash, right? So there are 8 or 10 different metrics that we chart over time, kind of flip back and forth between them, and you can use those to kind of figure out where do you stand, what are the current risks.
Okay. And right now you're in the test net phase.
Yep. So right now we're running on Ethereum, Polygon, and Avalanche testnets. We're gonna push one of those to mainnet. Don't know which one's gonna be first. Probably Ethereum. And basically, I've got a threshold, right? So the day I get 200 actual human players playing the game on testnet, that's the day we're gonna push to mainnet on that chain.
So it's split into so the balances are split across the 3 different chains as well.
Yeah, so each chain really runs independently, right? So We're running
It's
on.
its own game, like Go or something.
Yeah, we're running on. This is an EVM project, right? So it's compatible with any EVM blockchain. So Ethereum, Binance, Polygon, Avalanche, Phantom, a bunch of them, right? So really, the only thing keeping us from going to mainnet on all of them simultaneously, and this is one of the things that makes the game interesting, right? Is that what you see on the screen, like the actual behavior of the game, it's very similar to a trading market, right? So the behavior of the game is entirely due to the actions of the players. There are no random numbers. There's none of that. It's all down to
the big game theory again.
Yeah, exactly, right? So what does that mean if you have no players? There's no game, right? So it's pointless for us to.
Yeah, because I know you've really got some bots, but what happens if more and more bots start coming in as well? It's going to weaken the kind of player edge.
So in mainnet, on testnet, there are two things that kind of we have to do, right? So number one, I got to stress test the game, right? I mean, this thing is intended to scale to thousands or tens of thousands of players, and so things that might work with a handful of players just could go right off the rails with larger numbers. So we need large scale automated testing, right? Also, like I said, without players, there's no game. This is not a game that plays itself. So if I want to demonstrate gameplay, if I want to show what it looks like, I've got to have, before I have human players, I've got to have kind of bots in there playing the game, right? So for that reason, we have a population of bots that are in there playing the game on testnet. But I can't do that on mainnet, right? So part of the promotional model of the game is that we can take, let's call them promotional partners, influencers, and that kind of thing, right? And we can bake them into a game contract and basically pay them out of our management fees, right? So it's an incentive for people like you to come in and make some money on the back end by helping us promote the game, right? Which is cool, but the trouble is that those people get paid on every deposit, right? So if I've got a bunch of bots playing on mainnet, I'm going to hemorrhage money. I can't do that, right? So my bots can only play on testnet because they're the ones just kind of washing back and forth, right? If somebody else wants to come in, if somebody else wanted to come in and program bots to play the game, awesome. That's cool, right? I mean, we encourage players to get together on social media and conspire and collude and manipulate the market and all that fun stuff that's totally illegal. Like in a real market. No, come on, do it. I mean, that's the whole point, right? The point is to come in and have some fun, rub your friends, right? That's the idea. In fact, at some point, we're going to publish an API, right? So, in order to facilitate the creation of bots to play the game, because honestly, there's money to be made, right? So why not?
Interesting.
Yeah. What are those the robot wars, where they pit the robots against one another and they cage them? It's like that.
It's just a new mathematical realm of competition. That's interesting. I'm curious to see how the kind of robot performance will compare to the human, emotionally driven performance where people are sometimes make irrational decisions to make quick profit, for example.
Well,
it's interesting to see that.
That is interesting, and here's the thing. So, can I swear?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, shitcoins, right? So, take your average shitcoin. So people pump and dump shitcoins, right? And they get away with that because the price of a shitcoin has very, very little to do with any kind of intrinsic value, right? It's all speculative, right? The value of a shitcoin is all based on emotion, right? Yeah. Mostly. Well, think of this as a shitcoin taken to its absolute extreme, right? So the game balance, what's going on in the game here, it's just a number. There is no intrinsic value. The entire motivation to deposit, withdraw, eject early, whatever, is entirely due to sentiment, right? So somebody who does well playing YIELDA is going to be somebody who's really good at gauging market sentiment, right? And I don't know how good know how good bots are at doing that. That's not something maybe that they're so good at. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe humans have an advantage here.
I guess you've got to also be keeping tabs a lot, like checking every day to really, because things could swing very quickly. And if there's, when there's like a market rush created, potentially people could definitely have to be on their feet ready for that.
They do, yeah, and we don't provide alerts, right? So you need to watch what's going on in the game. But there's also something interesting there, right? So let's say that you've got a big deposit and you eject your deposit. Ejecting means you withdraw your deposit early and you kind of you leave some of your money on the table as a consequence, right? You're paying a premium. You're paying a penalty to the game, right? So you were going to withdraw anyway at some point, right? But what you've done is you've actually left more money in the game than you would have otherwise, because you're withdrawing, not your accumulated profits and not your entire deposit. So basically, when somebody panics because they think the game's going to end, and when they eject, it actually extends the life of the game. Yeah. So that's kind of baked in.
How much is the penalty fee?
25%. Yeah.
And these numbers can change with different versions of the game.
Yes. Yeah. So every game has kind of a large set of parameters, 20 odd parameters that kind of define how the game operates. Once the game starts, we can't change them. But from one game to the next, we have the ability to vary those parameters, right? So actually, the plan is, and right now, we're kind of varying manually, but the plan is to hook it up to machine learning, and over time, to kind of tune the game on each chain to a point where it's kind of maximally engaging and it works best, right? So I would imagine over time, each, the BN games will wind up working a little bit differently than the Ethereum games and so on.
Yeah, interesting. It's like a shifting jigsaw puzzle in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll see this evolve.
It's not obvious, right? I mean, so we've got these 3 games going on right now on the testnets, right? And I've only had like a Twitter account up and operating for like 2 months maybe, right? And so one of the things that I just do is I'll take a snapshot each day. I'll take a snapshot of the game balance and I'll publish it on the Telegram account and in Twitter, and with a little commentary, right? And remember, right now there may be a dozen people, like actual human people playing the games. Mostly it's bots, right? It's hard to analyze. Like it's hard to look at the game balance and intuit what's going on because it's so complex, right? There's so much complexity going on under the hood. So even with simple bots playing by simple rules and they're not really applying a great deal of strategy. It's not random, right? There are no random numbers, but it's interesting to look at. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
How long do you think it's going to be approximately how long until the mainnet launch?
Well, it depends a lot on you.
Depends on your marketing efforts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we got to.
You put a few influencers.
Yeah. So that's the main kind of strategy right now for promoting the game and getting it out there is to connect with. I say micro influencers. I mean, I'm not going to pay anybody $10,000 to give me a retweet on Twitter or whatever, right? So I want to find guys who are coming up, right, and are interested in kind of participating in the upset, right, and basically partnering with them, right? I mean, I think I didn't really pay a lot of attention to the whole influencer thing until I got started doing this. And I pretty quickly found that there are 2 distinctly different categories of kind of Web3 influencers out there, right? So you got guys like you who will actually have a conversation, and I mean, this is exactly what I want to be doing. And then for every one of you, there are 9 others that are just retweeting other people's retweets. It's like, I don't know how much they're charging for that stuff, but I don't think it really does anybody any good. So finding guys like you is
But I mean, Zone is a good place to be for doing like
oh my god.
you can do some like live workshops at some point, live like
You can't
demonstrations.
avoid it. You trip over when you go walking down the street. There's so many workshops and stuff around here. It's amazing. Right?
Yeah.
I think I could go to one every day, and I'd still be missing them. Yeah.
And what was the old name of YIELDA? Ponzi.
Yeah. So remember where it came from, right? Like you know, this thing that
It's
you
a
guys.
joke on it. It's like opened up, like reveal, like of the joke.
Yeah.
But actually, let's strategize this now.
I mean, I thought it was funny, right? And at first, because I got a pretty negative response. To answer the question, Ponzi form was the original name, and I thought it was funny. And at first, I got so much kind of negative feedback on it, and I thought, oh, people just don't get the joke. And eventually, somebody sat down and explained to me that no, we really do get the joke. We just don't think it's funny. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a tough one. It's got a really bad connotation. So.
Yeah. So oh well.
But yeah, I think YIELDA is a really nice name. Everyone knows yield.
Yeah.
YIELDA. Sure, that makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah. I used one of those. You ever seen these? It's like an AI brand name generator. Name
it
Links.
will like put A's on the end of the word. Like,
No. This is really cool.
It
took keywords and then it used some kind of AI thing to evolve like brandable, things like Google and like that kind of thing. Made up words, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I went through I don't know.
Oh, Google was about the number though.
Fair enough, but stuff like that.
But yeah, it's kind of like a tech sort of.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't understand what it means.
Yeah. So I must have scrolled through.
YIELDA
5,000. Yeah. So what it did was it would generate names and it would also tell you like which ones were available, like as domains.
Yeah.
So yeah, I spent probably 4 days just scrolling.
Have you got the .eth name ready too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got the .eth, Yep. Pretty happy with that. And then the actual rebranding went pretty quick. Like I did it over a weekend.
Cool. And should we hop into the?
Yeah.
Take a look.
Sure. All right. I'm gonna put on my smart glasses. So what you're looking at here is this is kind of the game dashboard for YIELDA. If you do any trading, it's you're gonna feel to some degree, like you're looking at a trading screen. These are all the different metrics available in the game. So the first one that comes up is the game balance. That's the amount of money left in the game, right? And you can see unsettled, for example, shows you how much money is represented by unwithdrawn deposits, right? So these are deposits, they're obligations that have been made, but nobody's withdrawn them yet, right? You get a number of coins, like Ethereum in this case, and you also get a count of deposits. So when this number is much larger than this number,
the unsettled number.
Yeah, then you got a problem, right? Like that's gonna, as those get farther and farther out of balance, that's gonna create kind of downward pressure because people are gonna feel like they're at risk and they're gonna want to withdraw, right? It counts other things too, so you can see all the rebates that have been paid out, the referral fees that have been paid out, and how many withdrawals have there been, and all that. How many, you can see like how many players have come in over time, that sort of thing. I'm gonna switch to the view of So we're looking right now at the game as one of those bots, right? So we're looking at player 0, right? And this person has one deposit in the game, right? And so right now it's not a mature deposit, so the person has the ability to eject their deposit from the game. In that case, they pay like a 25% penalty.
So a 25% fixed linear penalty.
Yeah.
For the whole. Okay.
Yeah.
So based on what they calculate how much you've already earned, and then just like 25% off.
Oh, so actually no. So it's when I say it's a 25% penalty, what I mean is that it's 25% of your principal. So you, right? So you're giving up. Let's pretend it's 1/8, right? So let's
So
say
that's
you make
really high on that 8-day. That's more than
it is.
more than the whole thing.
It is. But here's the thing, right? So let's say that the game is crashing, right? So let's say that this line is getting really close to
So
zero.
you're actually always better off to let your 8-day fail even than take a negative on it.
No.
Oh, so it's certain that the game fell.
So if you're certain that the game is going to fail in like tomorrow, right? If the game crashes before you've withdrawn your deposit, you're going to lose your entire deposit, 100%.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're sure that the game is going to crash, your choice is between losing it all or losing 3/4 of it, or losing 1/4 of it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a rescue, right? Not something you want to do, just like that.
You never went in intending to do it.
No.
Because it's still higher than what you would get back.
Now here's something interesting, right? So this is the deposit screen, right? So just to give you a sense of the difference, right? If I deposit for 8 days, at the end of the 8 days, I'm going to make about just over 8%.
That's accumulated.
That's accumulated. It's compounded daily, right? If I come in for 30 days, I'm going to make 143% on returns, and then another 3% as an instant rebate. So I'm going to make almost 146%, right? So here's what's interesting. Let's say I make 2 deposits, okay? One 8 days, one 19 days, where the 19-day deposit pays close to 50%, right? So go a few days down the line. Let's say that I'm 18 or 20 days down the line, and I decide, I don't think I'm going to make it 30 days. I can eject my 30-day deposit. The 19-day deposit still pays, right? And so I wind up with a net profit. But the fact that I made those two deposits simultaneously means that I deposited twice as much, right? When I did that, that's a signal to everybody else in the game. This is a solid game, and people keep coming in, right? So effectively what I've done is I've used the fact that I've got a little confidence and that I don't mind losing a little bit on one deposit to double my impact on the game and manipulate the game upwards, right?
Yeah. But they know it's the same person,
They know it's the same person, but the guys don't pay attention. And you know what? If you and I are talking on Twitter or Facebook or what have you, right, or Telegram, and maybe we've got 4 or 5 friends, then we can collude together in order to manipulate the market, and that our deposits are visible, right? Our activity inside the game is 100% visible to everybody, but the communications that we're having outside the game are not. Right? So that is a way that you can manipulate the market, but everybody else can do that too. Right?
Some influencers are going to love that, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
They can meet lots of people to do certain things.
There's one other thing, right? So let's say that you and I do that, right? Let's say that you and I get together with like 10 of our closest friends, and we decide we're going to manipulate this game, right? What if one of us goes, you know what? I can use the fact that the other 9 are doing that in order to play my own game, right? So there's nothing in the rules preventing any player from breaking promises, right? These are smart contracts. The game will obey its own rules, right? And I did like a thread on Twitter a couple of days ago about this, right? Like, if I'm an exchange, right, then my goal is to make sure that everybody's being fair and even-handed and all that stuff, right? Because I want people to come back and feel comfortable with their trades and blah blah blah, right? This is a game, all right? The goal here is not to keep things calm and even-handed.
Yeah.
The goal is to make it interesting, right? This is not a financial exchange. This is a cage match, right? That's what we're trying to create here. Yeah. So all right. So that's deposits, and then go down a bit further, and actually I did show you this already. So I showed you the kind of player summary. This is kind of your deposits. We can go to a different player and see one that's got more deposits in the game. Let's see. Let's just try. I'm just going to try one at random here. Who's got some cash available? We can cut the scrolling part out, I guess. Oh, so here's one who's he's got an expired deposit, right? So he's ready to withdraw, right? Just the bot hasn't. There's some randomness built in when they do it. So think about this, right? You're in this position. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Your deposit just became mature, and now you can withdraw this deposit, but it's still in the game. It's still at risk. So I come in and I've got a deposit that's also withdrawable, and I withdraw mine, and the game ends. You're out of luck, right? So right down there at the end, is when things start getting things move fast at the end, right? Yeah. So that's where we are, and then you can switch chains. Like we're looking at ETH now. We can flip over to the Matic chain, and you need MetaMask to play. Flip over to the Matic chain and see something very similar. Although even though it's the same population of bots playing the game, all the constraints are the same. In this case, even the game parameters are the same, right? The only thing that appears not to be the same is the quality of our internet connection. There we go. So we'll get a.
There's been 41 days since.
Yeah, I mean, the recent game started at about the same time, right? But you can see that the activity in the game, the dynamics of the game, are totally different, right? So this one kind of hit a nice easy peak, and it's been kind of going slightly sideways ever since. Whereas, meanwhile, it's a little lot faster because we already have the data in the game. Meanwhile, this guy, the Ethereum guy, is this jacket is fucked, right? Super volatile. Yeah. And look at this one. So this is the AVAX game. So the AVAX game started, and it just kind of went crazy, kind of from the beginning. Like I thought something was broken, but it was just the game kind of playing the way that the game does.
That was a bots more aggressive in uploading the thing.
Wait till you see. Yeah, we got a slow bandwidth there, so it's taking a moment to come up. But the game almost crashed within the first couple of weeks. All right, and then typically, in simulation, you saw a typical game would last anywhere from like 30 to 90 days, right? And
you simulated that hundreds of times using a.
Oh yeah, well, the way to simulate it is you just run populations of bots with different.
And they'll do random deposits, random withdrawal time gap, random like.
So I can get into the math of how this works, but we're treating deposits and withdrawals as a Poisson process, which means that any given bot will make a certain number, an average number of deposits over some period of time, right? So let's say make an average of deposit every 8 days, right? So if you think about it, that's not a normal distribution. If I'm four standard deviations down, I can't make a negative number of deposits, right? So it works a little bit differently. Bottom line is that deposits are randomized, injections are randomized, withdrawals are randomized.
Right. So this AVAX game looks completely different to the other.
Yeah, and you can see what happened on day 23 or 22. It just went for a dive, and I was doing commentary, right?
I mean, it recovered in like 1 day.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity, right? I mean, you've got this game that looks like it's crashing, right? There's potentially an opportunity to make a short-term deposit that is going to probably pay off before the game ends. Yeah, right. And enough of those, and you just extended the life of the game. And that's exactly what happens. So, the one thing that there's no way to know to what degree bots behave like people, right? I mean, I think as this thing grows, I talked about applying machine learning to game parameters, right? So that for each successive game, we can vary the parameters and wind up with games that are kind of maximally engaging, right? Well, on a shorter time horizon, you can do the same thing with the automated bots, right? So I can have bots playing on testnet, and in a given circumstance, compare the decisions that the bots make to the decisions that actual people playing in the same game make, and train the bots to behave like the people, right? So that would make things really interesting, right? If we get, and I do expect that we're going to wind up with a large enough population of people playing the games that kind of as a side project, we'll be able to train test bots to act more and more like people. I still won't be able to make them play and be at games because, like I said, anytime you have a promotional partner, that's going to cost you more than it's worth. But it will mean that we can play them on testnet and get useful intelligence about how to augment the games, how to where to go from here, right?
Yeah.
So.
And it shows you that it's technically possible for a game to end in under 3 days if there's a quick rush out to.
Yeah, I mean, so it can't end in 3 days. Here's why. So every game has a minimum deposit lockout. In this case, it's 8 days, right? So let's say that 100 people made 8-day deposits and then immediately ejected the deposits. You get no more deposits in the game, but now everybody's left 25% behind, right? So there's money in the game, right? The game only ends when the balance drops to 0. So the only way that somebody can eject at a profit is to wait until their lockout period expires. So just because of the way the arithmetic works, no game can last less than the initial lockout period of 8 days. 8.5 days, all bets are off. Right? Mm-hmm. Like the whole thing is crashing.
If everyone has decided to withdraw after the 8 days and no one new came in,
then yes, right. So like if everybody deposited on day 1, everybody withdrew on day 8, and nobody else deposited ever, then that would immediately.
But also, if you take the 30-day, towards the end, you can still take a penalty and still be profitable, right? Because it's 143%.
Well, no, because remember, when you eject from the game, you give up all of your accumulated.
Oh, all of that is gone as well.
Yes. So an ejection from the game is
always negative.
It's always negative. It's a last-ditch effort to save.
Save money.
Yeah. I mean, it's at that point, it's not can I make less money? It's can I avoid losing everything, right? Come back and play another day. So there are two kind of really different ways to approach the game. Naively, you look at it and you're like, I'm going to make a deposit. I'll go away for 27 days, come back and see what happened, right? If you do that, other people who are playing the game actively are going to eat your lunch, right? The other way to do it is instead of making one deposit, you make several. So you deposit. It's just like investing in the markets, right? You diversify your portfolio, right? So here, what you're doing is for any given deposit, you're going to make a spread of deposits that use different lockout periods in order to kind of mitigate your risk. And then you're not going to want to deposit everything all at once. Although if you come in early, like really early, like you're one of the first depositors in the game, not a bad strategy. But it's a good idea to reserve some cash for points during the game where there are opportunities, right? So, I mean, the one we're looking at right now, this AVAX is a good example, right? So
a lot of people thought the game was ending at 16, 17.
Yeah. So if you still had cash left over, like when it popped up like that, that would be a good point. At least make some short deposits, right? Like you capture some more income, right? So these games, if they run 60 or 90 days, don't think of it as I've got an opportunity over 60 or 90 days. It's more like the game runs pretty much continuously, and every day it presents kind of a different set of risks and opportunities, and you want to kind of evaluate those. And if it looks like if you've already got deposits, then you're already at risk in some way. And if today's risks and opportunities are the kind that would kind of diversify what you've already got, then it's probably a good day to deposit a little more.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see once this has been played out a bunch of times, how much control you can have over being profitable. Because it's going to be like we talked about poker before. If you play completely optimally, surely there's still like some risk of ruin, but a lot lower than someone who's like playing randomly. But we'll see like if you really can play that well, if you can pretty much avoid being ejected or being burned down, getting burned out again.
I mean, I think that.
So if anyone can be like a perfect player,
I think
keep
poker's
surviving like every game.
Poker's a good analogy, right?
You can have a leaderboard later of players who like have survived complete games.
We'll have a leaderboard by next week probably. But you know, I think poker's a good analogy. If a poker player plays the same optimal strategy every time, what's going to happen? That's a tell, right? Somebody's going to read his strategy and know exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah, you got to show gloves,
right? So the thing with a deep game theoretical game, whether it's poker or YIELDA or anything like that, is that a strategy that works today is a losing strategy tomorrow, right? Every single strategy, every quote-unquote winning strategy has associated with it a winning counter strategy, right? And so you got to stay on your toes.
Depends how much the other players are adapting to this as well.
Yes, you adapt or die. This is pretty much what it comes down to. Yeah, exactly right.
Cool. What else have we got on this dashboard? So the Referral Link program is obviously a big part of your strategy as well. Can you quickly explain what so influencers who are interested in this game, right now you're getting your initial partners.
Yeah.
So you want to say like what that entails and how you envision the affiliate link.
So here it is, right? So whenever you deposit to a YIELDA game, you're going to see some stuff show up on the screen, right? So one is like the deposits that you've made and like your personal. We didn't really talk about this, but like the player has his own metrics. Can't see any graphs here. Let's move to one where we actually.
Individual player metrics.
Yep. So you can see kind of your own performance and like what's. I'm looking for a player that's actually. You need 3 data points to make a graph, right? There we go. So here's a guy we've got exactly 3 data points, right? But right. So you got all your own metrics. Not much to see here, right? So as soon as you make any deposit, you get this referral link. So the way this works is, if I send you a referral link and you arrive at the game via that link, then when you make a deposit, that establishes a permanent relationship between you and me. Okay, so it's not just an in-game relationship; it actually extends to all future games, right? So and it also goes, it's more than one level, right? So let's say that I refer you and you refer somebody else and on and on. Basically, it extends as many levels as it can until the referral fee becomes greater than the gas required to transfer it, right? So it could be a dozen levels. But basically, when you make a deposit, if I referred you, then I immediately get, like that, I get a transfer into my wallet of 8% of the value of your deposit.
So level one's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Then let's say that somebody else referred me. Well, in that case, I'm going to get 3/4 of that, right? I'm going to get 3/4 of my 8%, and the guy above me, he's going to get the other 25% of that. So I'll get 6%, and he'll get 2%, and then so on, right? So and then that extends all the way up. So game ends, we start a new game. That relationship is still in place, right? So as long as there are YIELDA games, especially if you've been sort of early and aggressive about making referrals, you're going to get paid. One caveat: you can only establish a new referral relationship if you've deposited in that game, right? So
just one.
You can make a minimum deposit, but you have to be participating in the game.
What is the minimum deposit?
It depends on the chain. For ETH, it's 0.01 ETH. So we try to keep our minimum deposits under $100 worth of crypto. So you got to be playing the game in order to acquire
keep
a
the referral.
referral.
Yeah.
And to get paid on a referral relationship, you have to be in the game, right? So let's say it's 5 games later and like you came in and deposited again. If I'm just like keeping up and making a minimum deposit every time, cool, I'm gonna get paid, right? You make a deposit, within a couple of seconds, I'm gonna receive a transfer. If I forgot all about it and I'm not paying attention anymore, I won't, right? So
and that's coming straight out of the game balance.
that's the point I was about to make, right? So it doesn't come out of your deposit. So anytime you make a deposit, you're going to see a lot of metrics here that seem to indicate that we're taking money out of your deposit, right? So for example, there's a management fee, there's the rebates and referrals and all that. Now, those come out of the game balance, right? So in other words, when we take a management fee, it does reduce the game balance, which reduces the life of the game. But you always get full credit for the value of your deposit, right? So like when we calculate the daily compounding and all that, if you deposit any, you're going to get any back plus your returns, right? Assuming the game hasn't ended, right? Always a caveat, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, just to kind of finish the swing on the referral program, I always describe this game as a social strategy game, right? And it's a tough kind of concept to communicate, and that's actually like the main reason why I want to be sitting here with you right now. It's a tough concept to communicate because you're looking at the screen, you're like, it's just a graph. It doesn't look social, right? But two key elements, right? So one is referral program, right? You make more money, i.e., you mitigate your losses.
You could be making more money off of the film.
Yeah, exactly, right? So there's that. And then the other thing is collaboration, right? It's people who get their heads together and evolve a strategy and then make that strategy happen on the screen. Those are the people who are really going to win, right? So what I'm really hoping is that I managed to communicate this social aspect of the game, right? Collaborate, conspire on social media. That's how you win the game. You're going to beat the pants off of everybody who doesn't do that, right? Broken friends. Yeah.
Right. How's it been going with the blog and the Twitter, Telegram, both?
Yeah. So mostly the blog is the blog format's just handy, right? So like when you want to create documentation and explain, like all the little info links on this thing, like the instructions, they all go back to some blog post that describes that. I don't really use the blog for updates, right? Releases. Yeah, I use Twitter. I use Twitter a lot. Like I write a lot of Twitter threads and stuff, and I try to keep it interesting there. We also have we got a Telegram channel, which is open to anybody, but I would imagine is mostly interesting to people who are actually playing the game. I do publish, so I publish daily updates on Twitter. They go out, with some like scheduler widget, right? So they don't go out immediately when I write them, but they do go out immediately on the Telegram channel. So people on Telegram, they see my updates and analysis kind of before Twitter does. And just generally, I think that many people who play this game are just going to want some coaching, and I'm there on Twitter or on Telegram to do that. So that's kind of what that channel's for. Twitter's been okay. Been publishing for like 7 weeks, I think, or 8 weeks not even 8 weeks on Twitter. We got like close to 100 followers, so it doesn't sound like much, but it's fast growth from one.
Yeah, it's always the first 1,000 that's the hardest, for sure.
First 1,000 is always the tough one. Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, once they're close to seeing this referral deal and like how fun this can actually be, once it's launched, I'm sure that there'll be more people following and getting on board.
Here's hoping. Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I have my own Twitter, but I kind of don't use it anymore because it's just kind of fun to post on this one. It's like I've got a whole new set of friends, kind of, so.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else you wanna say about the
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if you like I'm a math guy. I'm a nerd, right? So I mean, to me, this stuff is just interesting, you know. But I mean, I think this is new, right? I think we had a guy. I think a guy who we both know, and I don't know if I'm allowed to use his name yet, but he runs a GameFi analysis shop. And as he's a friend, and so as a favor, he had his head analyst take a look at YIELDA. And the guy came back with some really complimentary stuff. This is before we changed the name, so like his point number one was change the name.
Yeah.
But no, what he said was that this is the most purely GameFi project that he's seen. The guy's looked at like 1,000 projects, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. That's exactly what I want to hear. Yeah. So if you're into really nerdy math stuff,
it doesn't have to be like it's not like it doesn't need all that technical gamification, like that heavy developer stuff. This is just like it's like the truest form of game, it's a game theory game where it doesn't have to be, you haven't had to hire like 10 developers to
just one.
Yeah. That's the concept, really.
I appreciate it. I mean, I'm hoping people come and talk about it. I want to hear ideas, because I'm sure that there are lots of ways to make this more interesting, and probably the lowest hanging fruit is metrics, right? So there are all sorts of metrics that we have exposed. There are more that I can expose. But there's also some stuff that can be really interesting, right? So for example, right now, it's every deposit in the game. By next week, we'll have leaderboards so you can see all the players and how they rank by the different metrics and all that kind of thing. What you can't see is network analysis, right? So you can't see who's collaborating. And if the National Security Agency can do it, I went to school with those guys. I can do it, right? So I think that we can probably come up with ways to kind of lift the rock off the ants nest and expose when people are collaborating on Telegram or what have you, to bring it out in the open, and that's kind of fun, right? So if we can, on the one hand, we're encouraging people to collaborate with one another in secret, and on the other hand, we're doing everything we can to expose the collaboration, right? It's like an arms race, which it always kind of makes things interesting. It's all good fun.
All right. Cool.
Hey man, I really appreciate you doing this with me. Just getting started, right? So it's cool to get people to get us up on that.
Yeah, we can do as things are developing, more players are coming in. We could do some more videos digging deep in the strategy once it's more visible. Once the strategy side of it, we'll deep dive and see what.
Do you have developers in your audience? Software developers?
I'm sure there's some. If there are any developers, hit it up in the comments.
Yeah, I mean that's my background. I'm a coder by nature, right? So we just for those of you who care, this is we're actually using the blockchain is the back end, but on the front end it's Next.js, React, Redux for data management, and did some cool stuff here. So I'd love to talk about it if anybody wants to.
If some developers message me, I'll forward that over.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
No, thanks for coming on. Thanks for showing us YIELDA.
Yeah.
And we'll update you guys with how it's all going. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.